Good evening, and welcome to WANA Live, the reading series of the Writers Association of Northern Appalachia. I'm your host, Damian Dressick. This is your other host.
Christina Fasonic. Good evening. I see that unlike every other, I think we have a.
We what?
Does anyone hear the lag?
I do not hear a lag.
How about now?
I still do not. Am I supposed to hear a lag? Do we have a
No,
lag
it's
for this
good.
show?
It's good now.
Oh,
So
good. Yeah.
so I noticed that usually, including last week, when we were doing the show, it was still a little light out at this time, but it is no longer.
Um,
It's dark.
I don't. So, for those of you who are academics, this will make sense. My chair told me it took him 11 years to get a window. I do not have a window, so it could be any weather outside, and I would be oblivious.
Well, I have multiple windows and it's dark.
It's dark.
So last week, many of our viewers joined us here in Wheeling, West Virginia for our annual writers conference, and it was a blast.
It was a blast. Oh gosh, we had the keynote speaker, the one and only Jan Beatty. People really liked what Jan had to say about writing and how it intersected with class and privilege and gender and location. We had some great music, didn't we?
Yeah, so Sue Powers and Jeff Berman were there, and they were amazing. Looking at the feedback, everybody loved them. We were lucky enough to have 20 different sessions that went on throughout the day, and probably about, I think, 28, close to 30 presenters. And more than 100 people, like 130 some people, joined us in Wheeling last week. We had a great open mic. The Women of Appalachia joined us. So
They
we're
were
already,
wonderful. If,
yes,
if
we're
you get
already
a
thinking.
chance to see them, oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
if you get a chance to see them somewhere near you, it's really absolutely worth your getting out there and checking it out.
And we have a performance for the Women of Appalachia coming up December 13th in Clarksburg, West Virginia. And there will be more before that. So we are already behind the scenes talking about next year's conference, where we might want to go, whether it'll be Wheeling or somewhere else in Northern Appalachia. So we hope you'll keep following us. Our next big thing, though, Saturday, come find WANA. We will be vending at the Indie Lit Festival in Frostburg, Maryland. We have done this. I think this is our third time. And we absolutely love being part of that crew. Jennifer Brown does such an amazing job gathering all of us independent people up so that we can do readings and workshops. I'm doing a couple of workshops and I'm really looking forward to it, even though I admit I'm still quite tired from our own conference.
That's true.
So we have a new reader for this evening.
We too. We let's see. This was the Walls Foundation where
Mhm.
we met this reader.
Yeah, so Damien and I attended the Walter Ruther and Pollock Labor Symposium put on by the Walls Foundation and sponsored by the Ohio County Public Library here in Wheeling Labor Day weekend. And we sat at a table and were lucky enough to meet our reader for tonight, who is Jim Schneider, who began in theater before moving into film, working on over 50 features while writing and producing plays and shorts. After raising a son in Pennsylvania, he returned to filmmaking, completing Jack in the Treehouse, which is available on Amazon and Tubi. He is a writer, a producer, and a director, and he now is focusing on a feature film about labor activist Joe Hill. And that's just
Cool.
a little tiny bit of his bio. And I know that his intentions is to tell us more. So let's bring him out.
Hello.
Hey Jim, good to
I,
have you.
well, thank you. I'd like to thank Christina and Damien for having me here. It's my first podcast.
Well, we're glad. So we're going to disappear and let you tell our audience about your work, and then we'll come back and have a chat with you.
Sounds great.
Okay, we'll see you.
Okay. So, you know, I have a writing habit. Every day, as much as I can, for the last couple decades, usually a couple of hours in the early morning. My preferred format is the narrative screenplay. It's what I'm most comfortable with, and I have a few I plan to make. Once upon a time, I thought I was writing spec scripts to sell, but after years of what felt like throwing them in the ocean, I changed course. Um, I have a lot of production experience. Making movies is a logistical nightmare, and that's if you have a lot of money. With less money, the challenges increase. It's a roller coaster ride that I'm comfortable with. My current project, Joe Hill, has been cooking for a long time. I first registered it with the Writers Guild in 1996. It's changed a lot since then. I've had other projects claim my focus and time over the years, but I've always returned to Joe Hill. And for the last several years, it's been my main focus. Rewriting is a constant. It will end when the movie is released and not before. If the rewrites weren't making it better, I wouldn't do so many. I know people feel their first draft is golden. I'm not one of those. I feel like with every pass, I make it better. Where Joe Hill is as a project is in development. That is after the first draft and before production. There are other people involved. I have a development executive, a production designer, a cinematographer, a composer. I've had various other graphic designers and production managers and location scouts involved. Development is expensive, and self-funding development is crazy. But most passion projects do start this way. I have a day job. I hang window treatments. It pays the bills. I've recently cut back on the hours. Development takes time and money, and my time will go further in getting this project off the ground than any money I'm making hanging blinds. Right now, I'm involved in moving the LLC from one state to another, along with the bank account. I'm changing casting directors, and I'm scouting locations, and again, rewriting. The screenplay format is straightforward and unforgiving. It's what you see and what you hear. That's why I'm not doing a reading. It's kind of hard to get used to that way, I think. But that format does help to clarify my vision. My tastes have developed from a lifelong love affair with theater and movies. It started with Tennessee Williams' Grab Me. His lyricism still grabs me. The first play I directed was Suddenly Last Summer, and then the last play I directed was Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I haven't gotten to Camino Real, not yet. Clifford Odets was another. He went after the greed and corruption destroying us. And this was in the 1930s. And his dialogue still sings. He was destroyed by the McCarthy hearings in the 1950s. Arthur Miller is another who somehow kept the McCarthy hearings at bay while writing plays about capitalism, war profiteering, and witch hunts. It's a miracle. There have been others before and since, Eugene O'Neill and Irwin Shaw. Sam Shepard seemed to speak directly to me. Movies have always held me under their spell. From The Sound of Music to Apocalypse Now, I'm an easy mark. Casablanca and Mad Max Fury Road are two of my favorites. They're the only two I've paid to see in the theaters twice. My favorite movie is probably Night of the Hunter, the only movie directed by Charles Laughton. It's weird and wonderful, kind of what I aspire to. Magical realism appeals to me. I was looking to shoot Joe Hill in Montana. They offer a film grant and part of the story takes place there. But after I shot a short proof of concept in Pittsburgh, it became clear that I have a home field advantage here, in this area. It's where I'm from. And I should take advantage of it. Both sides of my family's worked in the steel mills. The story of the underdog fighting against the power of the almighty dollar is in my blood. I can't stop trying to put that story out in a way my friends and neighbors will understand. It's a frustrating yet beautiful endeavor. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you for telling us about that, Jim. Now, I've got one question that sort of is more on my mind than the rest of them. So, what is it that drew you to the story of Joe Hill? for your next project?
You know, I started, for some reason, in the late 80s, I devoured everything I could get my hands on about Joe Hill and the Wobblies. And
Could you tell, for maybe some of our audience isn't really familiar with who Joe Hill is, could you tell us a little bit about Joe Hill?
okay, it's not Stephen King's son.
Good one.
He's he was an immigrant from Sweden. He came to this country around 1905, about the same time the Wobblies were formed.
Mm.
And the Wobblies, they were anarcho-syndicalists. They didn't really believe that government was going to save them, because they felt like government was a committee owned by the rich and was there to help the rich keep their money.
Shocking.
I know. And so Joe Hill was he was an artist and a songwriter. He learned to play the violin as a kid. His dad worked on the railroads of Sweden. When his dad was injured in a train accident, he immigrated to the United States. He worked as a bartender in the Bowery, made his way out to the West Coast, eventually settled in San Pedro. And he had a knack for, at this time, there were a lot of homeless on the street, migratory workers, and the organizing of unions would take place in this mass of unemployed men. And bosses would often hire the Salvation Army to go in and sing hymns to drown out the organizers. And Joe Hill he would take the hymns and write his own lyrics to them that were usually not too favorable of the bosses and would help get people more involved in organizing the Wobblies. And so a lot of his songs were actually based on religious hymns, and he would just have a whole new set of words to them. Probably his most famous song was Preacher and the Slave, but it had the phrase pie in the sky. And you will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work and pray, live on hay, you'll get pie in the sky when you die. And it was, so that's who he was. He was eventually, in 1915, he was framed for murder in Utah and executed by the state of Utah. He never offered an alibi. And that is kind of what drew me to the story. It really sucked me in, is he felt like it was the responsibility of the state to prove his guilt. And he wasn't at the location where the crime took place. So he was pretty sure that they didn't have any proof. And it was really, he was convicted on, he had a red bandana and he had been shot the night that a robbery took place. That was pretty much the evidence they had. And there were vigils and rallies around the world. The president of Sweden appealed to the United States. President Wilson appealed to the governor of Utah to try to get him to intervene. And
wow.
And it was, this was 1915. By 1918, the Palmer raids kicked in, and the IWW was crushed. They opposed the war, our involvement in World War I. And there's one thing you can't do in the United States is oppose our involvement in a war. They sent 200 of the top IWW officials were sent to prison for usually 20-year terms for the most part, and a couple of them were deported. It was they crushed them, and all the records of the trial were burned. They were gone. So anyway,
wow,
that's a little.
So I guess they were in many ways making an example of him, but also punishing him for daring to speak up and speak out.
And that's pretty much how the trial went. Is he pretty much was? He just said he accused the court of being in the pockets of the copper bosses, and that they were really the whole trial was to shut him up. And unfortunately, it was a hard way to prove his point. It was.
So I have a question that isn't directly related to that, but you said you talked about Night of the Hunter, which is a movie that's very special to me because I'm from Moundsville, down the river there, and so is Davis Grubb, who wrote the novel upon which Night of the Hunter was based. And over the summer, I had a chance to give a lecture about it because they showed the film at a film noir festival right down the street from where we went to the symposium. And, I was talking about Appalachian noir and, how this is such a gritty, good example of that. So, what about that film? And as you said, it was Lawton's only movie that he directed. And actually, the people that were involved in that film, like, they had sad ends and all these things. So, what draws you still to this, major movie that really put Davis Grubb and in some ways Moundsville, because they mentioned Moundsville by name, on the map for some. So, what was the appeal to you of Night of the Hunter?
I think that there's a certain amount of surrealism in that whole voyage on the river.
Yes.
That just is like it's just gripping and yet so strange because they'll cut away to a close up of a bullfrog. I mean, it's like
and the singing, this ghostly
Oh.
singing, where just thinking about it gives me chills.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had trouble reading the novel. But to prepare, I was rereading the novel, and I couldn't read it at night alone
I can believe that.
because
I
it was
can't
that chilling.
The preacher silhouetted against the sky on his horse.
Yes.
Yeah, it's still. I've watched it every time I get it. I've watched it in the past couple of months, and it works every single time.
Well,
Shelley Winters at the bottom of the river.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yes. And Grubb does a great job in Lawton too of taking us into the world of these children.
Oh.
And I think that's the most chilling thing because we see this terror unfold through the eyes of a child. And I think we're all transported back when we were so vulnerable, didn't know what to do, didn't know if we could defeat when the monster was a person and not someone under the bed. Not something under the bed,
And Lillian Gish.
Oh gosh, yes.
I mean, just as the hero. I mean, she was, putting Robert Mitchum in his place. It was really, it's just a wonderful, wonderful story. And it's a shame that he never got a chance to direct another movie. That was his only shot. He did what he did, and he never got invited back. So.
Well, and I can't imagine that movie because it went through other people's hands before it finally got to be what it was. And I honestly can't even imagine what it would have been like had someone else directed it or had someone else been involved with the scripting, because there were so many problems with the script. And just what an incredible movie and contribution to Appalachian noir, but just cinematic movie history. I mean,
yeah, and it was actually, I mean, I think that it probably could have been done in color, but the black and white, it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful movie. So
I'm glad they've never colorized it, because I think it would just take away from the chilling, terrifying depth.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy, that whole tattoos on the knuckles thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, I think that's still, I think people still use that for other things, but in there, it worked. It just really worked.
So, Christina, I wanted to ask you, because when Jim was talking about Joe Hill, like my own introduction to Joe Hill came through Paul Robeson, and I was wondering if either of you had the same experience.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I first learned about him. Somewhere in my studies of labor history and unionization somewhere, because I'm a big Walter Reuther fan and all this stuff. So somewhere in that study, but I don't remember where exactly.
Well, I was doing a little quick and dirty research while Jim was talking, and because of the idea of silencing Robeson, and it turned out silencing Joe Hill, and the Robeson version of "I Dreamed I Saw Joe Hill Last Night," "Alive as You Or Me," was actually the third most requested song on the British radio show, in terms of, it was a left-wing radio show, Desert Island Discs. It's like there are attempts to silence him. At least maybe it may have been somewhat effective in this country, but abroad it only made him more of an icon in the labor movement.
Yeah, there's a clip of him Robeson singing it to Welsh miners that's pretty famous, and Joan Baez did a version of it in at Woodstock. I think that might have been the first time I heard it, but I don't, on the Woodstock album. I'm sure, I don't know how much of an effect it had on the crowd of Woodstock, but it had an effect on me. So,
well, definitely, I don't know, because Dylan rewrote it with "I Dreamed I Saw St. Augustine alive as you were me." So he sort of steals and swaps as he's wont to do, being Mr. Dylan.
So it's funny. I actually heard, like, after I did all this research got everything I could read, Anti-Flag did a song on there. They did a song, and it was the free speech fight out of San Diego right there. The same, I'm like, this scene was in my movie. I'm like, what is going on?
That's wild.
Lights of America. That was the album it was on. But yeah, Anti-Flag. I'm glad it was pretty strange.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Oh, did you?
No, I just was going to say before we go. So where are you with this project now?
Well, I'm actually I'm lining up I'm moving from Montana. I was trying to shoot it in Montana. They have a film grant. They have some of the locations are there. To be shooting it nearby here, I have more connections, and it's just going to be easier. I'm meeting with the casting director sometime in the next couple of weeks, and I have a locations guy that did scout some locations for me around Pittsburgh and the Western Pennsylvania. I'm actually going to the thing in Clarksburg. I'm trying to meet with the West Virginia Film Commission because I'm still looking for an older mining town that never got updated. That's what I have a couple of street scenes I haven't really found the locations for yet. And
there's got to be a few of those around.
I bet I did go and see the Cass Railroad over.
Oh yes.
But it's just so freaking hard to get to.
It really is.
I think it's 4 hours from here. It's like,
and then once you get there, it's like 2-lane roads and
it's not
all the way up a mountain.
Yeah, it's
some of it too,
beautiful stuff.
Well, some of it too has been sort of so touristy that they've opened up those like train cabins and all this other stuff, and of course the railroad, keeps running through there. So you'd have to figure out when that schedule would be, and that could be very complicated.
Yeah, it will be very complicated. It's going to be like 10 days on locations, 10 days in a studio. It's not, and it's, I mean, I'd like to think that I could shoot it for $500,000. The last time a production manager worked up a budget was $1.5 million. Usually you figure whatever you spend on production, you got to spend twice as much as that on publicity and marketing in order to get people to see it. So it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I've been running for a while. I'm just going to keep running. So.
Well, we certainly look forward to that.
Yeah. Thanks for making time to run over here.
Yes.
Thank you. And I do appreciate you guys having me on because like I say, my first podcast.
Well, we don't often have the pleasure of having screenwriters or playwrights on. So this was great. We enjoyed that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Thanks again. I appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll see you. I'm now a resident of Wheeling.
So. Yes, I'm sure we'll run into each other. There's fun places in Wheeling to hang out.
There sure are. And there's not that many people there either. So it worked out great.
Less than 27K. So, Anyways, well, thank you so much for being on, and we'll see everybody next week at 8 p.m.
Everybody for watching.
Good night, everyone.
And you guys have a good night.